little bit about employment law, specifically unfair dismissal. This dilemma was sent in, and this person had been really honest in their situation and had been really good with giving me all the information I need to kind of give some type of direction in this situation. It is quite of a long one, but you'd find that with employment law cases they usually are. This case resulted in this person being terminated, having their contract terminated. So in effect they were fired, and this person believes that they were unfairly dismissed, which looking at the evidence that I've gotten from them seems to look that way too. So I will go through the kind of steps you take, what to do, and I will give you an account of the story from the person themselves. So this letter that I'm going to be reading is the letter that my ASK has said that they would like to send to their company, to their former company where they had worked. This letter is an informal letter that you send off in the hopes that you can come to an amicable agreement about the way things had ended. Maybe the procedures of the dismissal were wrong on the company's behalf, so they may try to fix it. This is very informal. This is you and your employer just trying to sort things out. I'm going to tell you what happens if this does not go well. Yeah, so if this doesn't go well, I'll tell you guys what happens. Okay, so I'm just going to start reading now. This letter will consist of the incidents that happened at the time at this company that can be described as unlawful discrimination, unfair treatment within the workplace, victimization, and the effect it had on myself. Cool. The Equality Act 2010 legally protects people from discrimination in the workplace, which I believe this company has failed to comply with. I do believe the discrimination were based on my age, race and background, which under Section 4 of the Equality Act 2010 are labelled as protected characteristics. Also, due to the nature of my dismissal, there has been a breach of contract on the company's part. As a result of this, I will be taking up the grievance with this company. I have been advised to firstly construct a letter explaining my experiences and its effect on myself, and ultimately try to get a resolution informally between myself and this company, which is what you do. Cool. So, if a conclusion cannot be met or my letter is ignored, I will be forced to take this case further with ACAS. On the 1st of August 2018, I was brought on to work at this company, where I continued to work up until the 10th of January 2019, having received a contract. So during my time at this company, I've experienced many acts towards me that were discriminative, inappropriate and unfair. Many of these acts were carried out by members of the workplace, including my boss and the team leaders. All events, in brackets, this person has put, all events have been recorded to the best of my recollection. Some of the worst comments came from my boss, who scrutinised my headscarf. On one instance, I referred to my headscarf as a bandana, in brackets, an item associated with gang affiliation, and informed me that I did not look like a law graduate because of it. Although I did not like the comment, I did not want to make a big issue out of it due to me being new at the job. I also believed at the time they referred the reference to the headscarf as a bandana could have been a genuine mistake. As a result, I corrected my boss and informed him that it was in fact a headscarf. On a separate occasion, my boss noticed that I was not wearing my headscarf that day, and he said to me, "You look like a lady without your bandana." Again, using a reference to the bandana, I responded by saying, So what, do I look like a man? My boss responded with, "No, you just look like you're from the streets." A conversation with a member of staff where I expressed that I didn't find the joke made funny and was tired of the comments about my headscarf. The staff member I spoke to replied to, "Yeah, he does keep bringing it up," and informed me that another member of the staff said, "She needs to grow up and learn how to take a joke." On that day, a conversation did take place with myself and my boss. This discussion took place in the main office where several workers heard and could see by my face that I was offended and upset. These comments made me feel embarrassed as it was said in front of everyone. I felt only my appearance was being scrutinised. Overall, these comments were upsetting to hear and did make me feel uncomfortable in the workplace. I believe many of these comments were linked to the stereotypes based on my race, which made me feel like I didn't belong at this company. Being the only black African working at this company furthered the feeling of isolation, and I felt that no one fully understood what I was going through. I felt that there was a rule for me and a rule for everyone else, which some of my colleagues had agreed. Most of these unfair acts came from my team leader at the company. I had informed her that I was interested in doing overtime, to which she explained to me there was no overtime at the moment. However, after speaking to other colleagues, it had come to my attention that 2 members of the workplace had been granted overtime. Another example of this unfair treatment occurred when I received my contract from the company, and I was also informed on my official break times. Despite the other workers taking roughly a 30 to 45 minute break, I myself alone was penalised by taking the exact same time. My team leader had told me to take shorter breaks. Prior to the day of my dismissal, I had gone down to the first floor office to give a message to a colleague. This took 30 seconds or under. When returning to my desk, I was questioned by my team leader on my whereabouts, saying, "Did you just go to the toilet or downstairs?" After replying, my team leader then informed me that there had been some complaints about me going downstairs and that someone had reported me as a distraction. She ended the conversation with informing me that I could not go down to the other office. Despite this not being a general rule for everyone and other members of staff still being allowed to go on both floors, I had agreed, as I believed there had been a genuine complaint made. However, confused and shocked about the conversation, I spoke to a team leader and a colleague from downstairs where they had informed me that coming downstairs was no issue, I was no distraction, and that nobody had reported me. Another comment that was made about my appearance was on an occasion where the office was cold, so I proceeded by putting on an Adidas zip-up hoodie. As I did this, a member of staff said, "Are you going to start rapping for us?" I took offence to this comment and replied, "I don't find it funny." And another member of staff, seeing my facial expression, replied, "I shouldn't worry about it. It was an ignorant comment." The company made me feel very out of place working there. I expressed to 2 members of staff who witnessed this breakdown that I felt that I was being treated unfairly. I was advised by one of those witnesses, who was also a team leader from another department, that I should inform my boss, write him a letter expressing this. Coming into work the next day, I intended to do so. However, before I could get a chance to talk to him, I was fired without any notice. As a remedy to these actions, I would appreciate a formal apology from the company, to be compensated for the dismissal without a week's notice, as stated in my contract with the company, and to also be compensated for the stress and the emotional trauma I faced while working at this company. So after reading that informal letter for the company, to the best of my reasoning and to the best of my legal understanding, I do believe that this person has been a victim of unfair dismissal, and they also have experienced some type of indirect discrimination with a protected characteristic, which I will explain to you guys now. So I will be looking at the Employment Rights Act 1996. That is the relevant piece of legislation for this case. The relevant sections are section 98, where fairness is looked at. And if you do not satisfy those requirements or cannot satisfy those requirements, your dismissal will be deemed as unfair. So section 98, subsection 1A to B, also relevant is subsection 2A to B. These are the kind of requirements that you would have to satisfy. If not, your dismissal will be deemed as unfair. Am I crazy? Yes. Also relevant is the Equality Act 2010, Chapter 1, Section 4. That whole Section 4 will give you the protected characteristics. If you have been found to discriminate somebody based on a protected characteristic, it is bad. Protected characteristics can be something like age, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation. There is a full list on the legislation. The Equality Act 2010 is Section 19, subsection 1, A to B, which kind of highlight indirect discrimination, and I also believe that that is relevant to this case. So there are two reasons. There might be more, but I can't lie to you. I went on gov.com because I do think they are the best for giving basic instructions in layman's terms. I'm going to put the link in there for you if you're interested, if this is something you're experiencing, but you guys can have a look at it as well. I will be referencing gov.com. Very helpful. So your dismissal can be deemed as unfair if your employer does not have a good reason for firing you, and if your employer does not follow through the company's dismissal procedure. You have been unfairly dismissed at work, you have experienced some type of indirect discrimination. Your next steps are as follows. 1. Write to your company informally. See if you can come to a resolution with them amicably. If that does not work, if they do not respond, or if they contact you back saying, I don't know, we think we've taken every kind of care during this procedure, we're sorry you feel that way, but our decision is as stands. You are not satisfied with that, you can go straight to option number 2. Option number 2 is having an actual formal, it's creating a formal grievance with somebody that is either in HR or head office, or who has the power to investigate this issue further. Again, if you are met with the same disappointing feedback with, we feel like we've taken care of this responsibly, we feel like we've done our part, blah blah blah, you may take it up to the next level. So the next step would be considering a tribunal, but before considering a tribunal, you must go to ACAS. ACAS is Advisory Conciliation Arbitration Services. So they will help you and help you for free with your issue. They may offer early conciliation, which is basically you and your employer having to sit down, and ACAS will act as a mediator in the situation, seeing if they can find some ground between you and your employer to bring the situation to rest. And you must go through this process before a tribunal. But if you are considering a tribunal, make sure you tell ACAS. In addition to this, if you do go forward with the tribunal route and you have not considered ACAS, they will usually ask you, have you tried the mediation services? And if you say no, they will refer you there. So just, save yourself some time. Go through ACAS. They're there, they're free, they're there to help. They are not biased, and they should see you through. And if they don't, there is another step for you guys. Do not worry. They will consider if you have a case or not. If you do have a case, you will fill out a form for early conciliation. If one of you want to ask me, that's fine. But yeah, so after your kind of mediation time with ACAS and your employer, if you guys still do not reach a kind of conclusion to your situation, you will receive a certificate from ACAS. This is what you will use, and you will present this to your tribunal when you would like to make a case for a tribunal. After that whole process, I can't lie to you guys, I don't really know what goes on. If anyone wants to tell me, if anyone wants to let me know, feel free. But you use that certificate, and they will have like a kind of number, a reference number from that certificate that you will use, and when you're filling out your claim for your tribunal, you will use that. So hopefully that has kind of helped you guys understand the kind of journey you should take if you'd like to see your unfair dismissal problem solved. The bit for indirect discrimination I will now get to, because this is something else you will have to prove, and I will get onto the burden of proof and who carries it. It's a little bit different in cases like this, so I will explain that to you. In terms of indirect discrimination, the relevant legislation will be the Equality Act 2010. Section 19, that will outline indirect discrimination. Indirect discrimination must consist of one protected characteristic. So it could be your age, it could be your race, it could be your gender, it could be your sexual orientation. Protected characteristics are outlined in Chapter 1, from Section 4. From Section 4 they are outlined. I will also put the link in the description box below for you guys. There is a list of protected characteristics, and you must at least have one of those protected characteristics kind of, I don't know, used against you for you to be able to obviously claim that you have been indirectly discriminated. So I'm quickly going to talk about the burden of proof. So the Equality Act 2010, Section 136, subsection 2, subsection 3, will highlight that the burden of proof will shift. So in layman terms, it means if I have an issue with you or my employer, the tribunal will say, unless the employer can prove that what I said didn't happen, then they will find my employer liable. So if there is no evidence to prove anything otherwise, all that I have said, all that I have claimed will be deemed as truthful. I am truthful and my employer is the guilty one. It is now his burden of proof. Because I have brought this claim to him, he must now protect himself, and he must now give evidence to say that what I'm saying happened did not happen. So wrapping up, that is what I would do if I was presented with a scenario like that in one of my legal exams. I'd be specific about the unfair dismissal and the indirect discrimination. Hopefully this has helped some of you guys. If any of you have any questions that you'd like me to clear up, feel free to ask me. Feel free to tag somebody who might even be able to give a clearer kind of description. I'm only trying to do my best. Criticism is fine, just please let it be constructive. And yeah, I think that will be it. The final thing I want to say is, do not rely on me. Do your research, be informed, get to reading, talk to people, talk to qualified people, because I'm just doing my best as somebody who is not yet qualified. When I'm qualified, take the advice how you want, run to the streets with it. But no, don't do that. But just to make sure you guys understand, make sure you take all of my kind of direction with a pinch of salt. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time.